The Cautionary Tale of Azealia Banks, a hip house legend and never was. Troubled soul or troubled troll? Every so often, we come across a talent that's so uniquely set apart, it's as though they were strategically placed in front of the world's POV for us to soak up, bask in, and relish in all of their God given talents. We may find joy in this artist's lengthy catalog of hip house hop. However, this young Rapunzel has been whipping up more things than just 40-inch middle part bust down worn back in her yeaster years as Starbucks appointed barista. A concoction of dead chickens and kitty flesh used as sacrificial ingredients for whichever witchcraft spell decided that day. If you're confused now, don't worry, it gets worse. Harlem bred Azealia Banks exhausted MySpace's nostalgic platform back when the only Tom we knew was our first friend on a blue and white social site and not the talking cat. Pumping her amateur music throughout the famous HTTP link, Azalea's interest and outlet of choice served to be her claim to fame, and soon enough, Miss Banks, with a dollar sign, was on her way to the top. Viral before going viral was a social media phenomenon. Her well-blended formula of house beats, indie pop, and hip-hop led to the release of 212. But don't let the Mickey Mouse sweater, childlike demeanor, and pigtails fool you. Azealia is far from innocent. Running away at just 14, a trail of side jobs, a trip to Canada, premature sexual explorations, underground conquest, stripper diaries, married men mayhem, chaos, and confusion found itself in and out of Azalea's young life. But that wouldn't deter her from her source of escapism. And despite becoming the soundtrack to luxury fashion houses around the world, her troublesome youth couldn't get out of the way quick enough for her to see the fault in her stars. Controversy after controversy, Azalea's mouth and unbashful opinions she'd give every so often on that Bluebird app would get her in loads of trouble time and time again. So much so that she's become more known for her public feuds and relentless acted upon intrusive thoughts than for her actual artistic career. But the people want to know, is Azealia Banks a troubled soul or just a troubled troll? Chances are you had the pleasure of finding out about Azealia Banks due to one of her many feuds with a string of celebrities. Actors, flight attendants, you name it. Was it the random back and forth with Lana Del Rey that resulted in Lana telling Miss Banks to pull up? The I fight kids approach she had with a then 14-year-old Sky Jackson, where she proclaimed the Disney actress as a token Negro with no hips. And no, these weren't her exact words. The moment she deemed Zayn Malik a refuge sandmaker, when she dragged Rihanna Fenty by her bald effing edges, perhaps when she publicly accused Elon Musk of holding her hostage in his mansion on some get out-ish, and or accusing his baby mama Grimes of having an envious psychosexual obsession with her. Could it have been her smoke for the entirety of Sweden, Ireland, Israel? Look, the list is hefty. We're going to get into all of her contemptuous, yet hilariously debatable quarrels with dang near the entire music industry in a bit. But first, we need to back it up to a more peaceful period in Azalea's life, her childhood, and the root to literally all of her problems. The Bureaus of Manhattan, New York, Azalea's resting place, and the foundation of her childhood. May 31st, 1991. The initials AAB, along with tiny inked written footprints, were stamped and recorded on the birth certificate of hip-hop's soon-to-be most outspoken female rapper. She wouldn't be alone in this here journey on Earth either. With two siblings accompanying her along the way, Azealia, along with her sister's upbringing, was far from ideal. Adapting to New York's social climate, the Banks weren't much different from your ordinary Harlem-grown New Yorkers. They may have been more rugged compared to their neighboring states' locals, but they were as New York could get. So needless to say, when their father passed away from pancreatic cancer before Azealia could place 3 candles on her birthday cake, that is, as if she ever even received one, atmosphere within the household shifted. A Catholic school filled with majority Irish and Dominican kids resided about a block from where Azealia lived. But despite the education soaked in religious sentiments, her home life just didn't add up to whatever her teachers were preaching about. Following her father's death, Azalea's mom lost her mind and grew vigorously abusive, both mentally and physically. Baseball bats were swung, and not in the way they were intended to be used. Fistfights occasionally broke out, and she banged her heads against walls and routinely called a young Azealia ugly, amongst other not so kind words. She once even threw out all the food in the fridge, just so Azealia and her sisters would starve, and beat up a Mexican limo driver on the street after he hit Azealia with a trash bag. Coming home to an empty apartment from a long day of school, chips and soda in hand was just the escape Azealia looked forward to. This was her time to wind down, rest her nervous system, and to just be a kid. Singing her little heart out during these moments had also been another source of escapism. Music, singing, and the arts. She left the Catholic school in her fourth grade year and entered a new one. A timid, semi-shy Banks, who described herself as a nerd during this time, received a flyer from the Tada Company, a nonprofit theater and organization where talented kids can go and receive free lessons and build their skills. Of course, Azealia jumped on the offer right away, one step closer towards her dreams of becoming a famous celebrity that would be plastered all over Nickelodeon, the Disney Channel, and similar networks like it, and one step farther away from the tumultuous, violent, and unstable ruins of her upbringing, an emotionally detached mother who once went to her daughter's boyfriend's home threatening to cut off his genitals, put it in a pan, and saute it with onions and peppers after discovering dude had cheated. Jumping from the Tada Theater to the famous Fiorello H. LaGuardia Music, Arts, and Performing Arts High School, otherly known as the high school rap legend Nicki Minaj attended, as well as hundreds of other recognizable faces. A$AP Rocky may not be amongst those hundreds, but he is amongst some famous names that grew up on Azalea's block. By age 14, Azealia reached her breaking point with her mother. The lavish gifts, pet-filled rooms, game consoles, etc. weren't enough to fulfill the void Azealia felt within. Her mom beat and abused her, but would spoil her with gifts. Overall, she was an unhappy child who had enough of the violence at home and set off to live with her older sibling. Fiorello did what it had to do because the high school prep worked in Azalea's favor. 2 years after leaving the nest, she starred in a City of Angels musical, where she'd be discovered by an agent who sent her to auditions for TBS, Nickelodeon, and Law & Order. She was in her audition bag, but unfortunately for her, the literal bag wouldn't come quick enough because the auditions returned void after booking not a single one. The frequent no's led to the decline of her interest in acting, and shortly she'd end her acting pursuit altogether, citing a sense of unfulfillment. Writing rap and R&B songs helped her get over that hump, which turned into her main source of a creative outlet. She never did finish high school, but who needs school when you're on your way to become one of the greatest musicians on the planet? Disclaimer, we're talking about Azealia, not y'all. Y'all should probably stay in school. Under the moniker Miss Banks, she released her debut single, Gimme a Chance, via MySpace on the 9th of November in 2008, followed by the track 17, all produced by Azealia herself, sending both recordings to DJ Diplo. Yeah, Diplo. But it all worked out in Azalea's favor, because after working with him, she scored a recording deal with XL Recordings, but cut ties with the label in the same year due to artistic conflict. Following her exit, she left anything tied to XL behind, including her stage name, taking up her real name for the remainder of her career, and proceeded to move to Montreal, Canada, all before she reached the age of 18. Out the way across the pond, Azealia was now on her own, both in her personal life and her career. And with the rise of streaming platforms and the web's favorite video sharing site, YouTube, sharing her music with the world was only one upload away. Uploading demo tracks LAR and the Interpol cover Slow Hands. An expired Canadian visa gave her the push to jet back to her NY foundation, where she then took up several side jobs. One where she sold keychains at a Manhattan jazz club, and another working at a Queens strip club just to make ends meet, while her married boyfriend Yeah, you heard that right. No need to rewind. At the time, paid the rent. A proclaimed weed head, Azealia, not the boyfriend, smoking weed all day was her preferred drug of choice. Her boyfriend often dropped by until one day she noticed a strange man sitting in a strange truck parked outside staring at her. After further investigation on Azalea's end, she found out that she was the one being investigated all along. The man was a private investigator hired by her boyfriend's wife after the wife found out about her husband's girlfriend. Now, without a manager, a boyfriend, no friends, and barely enough money, depression snuck up on her like the snake did to Eve in the Garden of Eden. But that ain't no problem because by 2011, she was up and stuck with her debut single 212 hit the airwaves as a free digital download right from her very own website. Officially released in December of that year, Azealia, now signed to Polydor and Interscope Records, with some tussle I might add, was finally getting her big break. Derided from the 212 area code of her hometown, deemed a hip house hit, 212 combines numerous aspects showing off Azalea's range. Originally plastered over Belgian DJ Jeff Martin's and Lazy J's club hit Float My Boat, Azealia took the beat, shook it up, flipped it, and served it, giving us a second-person perspective of our inability to keep up with Azalea's subtle yet witty gangsta, and a first-person point of view of random experiences, thoughts, and moments of her adolescent years growing up in the 212. A witty tale of freedom, self-possession, expression, and dominance, the EDM meets European rave, hip-hop, and R&B track takes listeners on a whirlwind of emotions, moods, and characteristic stylistic rap segments, all in under 4 minutes. Its casual transition of cutesy antagonistic one-tone rap to airy soulful ballad, straight into pleasant aggressive belts of rap singing, gave 212 that extra oomph it needed to cement its spot on Billboard's Songs That Define the Decade list, as well as on NPR's list of their favorite songs of 2011, deeming it the ranchiest shutdown of 2011. It peaked in the top 20s over in the UK and was listed in their top 100 biggest hip-hop songs of all time. It was ranked number 18 on NME's 50 Best Tracks of 2011 and placed at number 485 on Rolling Stone's 500 Greatest Songs of All Time list in 2021. What made Azalea's breakout hit even more successful was its minimalist black and white video, filled with close-up shots of Azealia mouthing the lyrics, sporting a Mickey Mouse sweater and pigtails, while goofily dancing and spontaneously interacting with her friends. Now going by the moniker Young Rapunzel, a nickname received thanks to her long wigs during her days working as a Starbucks barista, the track Need Some Love, SXLND, dropped on the internet on January 16, 2012, coinciding with the great Aaliyah's 33rd birthday, who's also sampled on the track, and whom Azealia refers to as one of her many admirations, as well as Beyoncé, who she called the most remarkable performer, musician, and the queen of everything. The follow-up, Bambi, had been selected as a soundtrack for a Terry Mugler fashion show in Paris. Azalea's career was clearly on the come-up. Fantasy, her debut mixtape, was met with stellar reviews, and her debut album, Broke with Expensive Taste, superseded those. Pulling from Black LGBT culture and drenched in the word cunty, the 2013 release debuted at number 30 on Billboard's Top 200. Collaborations with Pharrell, Kanye West, Lady Gaga, and more occurred during this time, but few songs would make it on the track list. Despite Azealia going more viral than one of Kanye's rants, whether it be due to her actual music, electric showmanship, referred to her 2015 Coachella megaphone moment, if you have any doubt, or the tsunami level of controversy she's voluntarily placed herself in throughout the years, from skin bleaching, which she claims was to fix hyperpigmentation issues caused by her birth control, sacrificing chickens for witchcraft, cooking her dead cat, which she claims she didn't eat but used its bones to make earrings and exhumed for taxidermy purposes, usage of racial and homophobic slurs despite being a fan-declared cunty queen, Several airplane meltdowns, one where she called one flight crew member an effing maggot and placed an M with an F, and another on a separate flight years later, an ugly Irish woman, beef with the entire country of Ireland, deeming those derived from it as inbred, illiterate, oopa loopa, spray tan, crazy looking leprechauns. To her medieval scroll list of celebs she's came for since her debut into the mainstream publication consciousness. It all started with former boy group member Zayn Malik. After Zayn's release of his Like I Would music video, an angry Azealia jumped out of the bushes, accusing Gigi Hadid's baby daddy of copying her style not once, but several times throughout the years. Backed by a not-so-supportive collage, what started as a semi-wholesome call-out with Banks referring to Zayn as a cutie pie, turned into straight blows after Zayn tweeted that he saw Azealia reaching, but he didn't care, resulting in Azealia coming for his entire existence and everybody else linked to it. USA is about to teach you who to not F with. When your extended family has been obliterated by good old US of A, will you still be trying to act like a white, not pretending to be black? Do you understand that you are a sandmaker who emulates white boys' renditions of black malehood? Do you know how lost and culturalist you are? LOL. You a beach nigga for even responding like that. Keep sucking this young Rapunzel disco stick, you Harry Curry scented beach. You a pogo rider for real. Ride this stick shift until the wheels fall off of Punjab. You were the token brown boy. All those white boys in 1D disrespected you and made you their pet. Shout out to us for censoring those tweets because boy was it hard. She went on to say the Capital FM radio held auditions for Zayn at a refugee camp for refugees' best talent, that his mom Tricia was a dirty refugee who won't be granted asylum, called him a bunch of homophobic slurs, and said he ate sand for breakfast and sausage for dinner, if you get my drift. Zayn stayed rather quiet throughout her entire escapade of tweets, but supposedly he leaked her number to his fans after Azealia claimed he'd done so. All in all, the exchange was rather confusing since she ended the tirade by calling Zayn a cutie, letting the world know that he could eat her from the back any day. As if anybody needed to know that. Like everyone else who logged onto Twitter that day, ex-Disney star Sky Jackson, who was only 14 at the time, chimed in on the racially charged exchange, telling her followers that Azealia needed to take it down a notch. Well, the tweet reached Azealia somehow, because Miss Jackson did not hit that at button. Nevertheless, here Azealia was, telling someone who's only been a teen for 2 years, by that point, to grow some hips and start their menses. Sky was not here for the blatant disrespect, and decided to give Azealia a taste of her own medicine in the most classiest, yet shadiest way. When a no-hip having 14-year-old has more class than you, worry about your career. Get one. Ooh. Azealia only added more gasoline to the fire by calling Sky a Disney reject, stating how they don't like girls her color and to enjoy it while it lasts. You aren't a star, you aren't a topic, you're a meme. A meme with 2.3 million Instagram followers, Sky replied, which is well over 8 million by the time this video gets uploaded. My memes are more relevant than you. Now that's sad. You got dissed by a One Directioner. How miserable can your life be? Now have several seats. Azealia stinks. The back and forth ended with Azealia accusing Sky's mom of writing her clapbacks for her. Just a few short months after all of that, Azealia, believe it or not, has not issued an apology. Kinda. To both Zayn and Sky via DMs, letting it be known that although she was sorry to anyone who was offended, she wasn't sorry for what she said exactly. Apologies to everyone except the targets of my tirades. She said what she said to Zayn out of anger. She thought he felt as though he was too good to acknowledge her, yet had no issue jacking her creativity, and had to remind the Bradford baby daddy that he too would have been sent to the back of the bus during the Jim Crow era. Nah, She didn't say all that, but she might as well have. When it came to Sky, Azealia really felt as though her mom was tweeting for her and wanted to get it through her stage momager head that she was doing the most by exploiting her child. I wanted to tell her mother that she's doing the most to try and force this young girl out into the world by letting her wear weaves and take sexy Insta pics, and that her daughter was probably going to end up becoming a thought. The time should be spent trying to hone in your daughter's artistic skills rather than try and force this over sexualized image of a little girl onto the public. Sky hasn't entered the real world yet, where real black women get vilified for being just that, and I felt that since she's a child, she had no place in that argument. The apology was cute or whatever, but not good enough for Twitter, who suspended her for not once, but twice. Taking the time away from unaliving innocent chickens and instigating beef between the girls, gays, and guys to send out another, more sincere apology, starting the message with, "I want to extend my sincerest apologies to the world." Employing racial slash sexual slash slurs slash stereotypes in attempts to make fun of or degrade another person or group is absolutely unacceptable and is not fair or fun to anyone. Allowing my anger to get the best of me, I've managed to insult millions of people without reason, and for that I give my deepest apologies. I personally really enjoy curry and cook with it often. I feel compelled to clear the air with curry itself because that's a bridge I don't want to burn. By the way, black people traditionally cook with curry too, just saying. Acknowledging the millions of people possibly offended in her apology didn't hold weight because till this day, Azealia has been letting everybody and their kinfolk have it. And we must say the list is unhinged, so try and stay with me as we do a quick rundown. She called Lily Allen's husband ugly back in 2013 and came for the Lady Kids unprovoked. Dissed rapper Angel Hayes in several diss tracks, called Perez Hilton a maggot, told A$AP Rocky to come out of the closet after he let it be known that dark-skinned women shouldn't wear purple or dark lipstick shades, told Kendrick Lamar how dare he open his face to a white publication to say that black people don't respect themselves, and to speak for his effing self after he told Billboard that black people don't respect themselves and shouldn't expect respect from others. After hearing Eminem rap on Sway in the Morning in 2015, she called him cute and told him he could be her wrinkly-faced lover in the wee hours, but he chose to joke about domestic violence against a woman who couldn't defend herself, stating that she herself was a victim of DV. That it's never funny, and that he goes after unsuspecting women as jokes in his raps, but would never press Jay-Z or male rappers in such a way. She called Creation a dumb beach who can't rap, and to fall back after the Gucci rapper retweeted a link from an adult site consisting of Azalea's 212 track, leaving Creation confused because she only retweeted the link due to her sincere love of Azalea's music. Had a little dispute with Jim Jones, called the rapper Cupcake a gorilla who drips chitlin juice everywhere, called Rita Ora Rihanna's understudy, called Kanye an abusive a-hole who sacrificed the mental health of his firstborn, also that he was the last person who needed to be discussing black fatherhood and the black family unit, deemed Cardi B a caricature of a black woman just to turn around years later and claim she always supported the Spanish mommy, following the rap girlie's feud with Cardi on the behalf of Nicki Minaj. Called Nicki a whack beach and said Miss Black Barbie was mad because she lost the feud, only to later apologize about a year later, to which Nicki accepted. Came for Rihanna's jugular, accusing her of lacing blunts with crystal meth. Accused Lana Del Rey of fake outrage after Lana called out Kanye's endorsement of Trump, which Azealia then referred to Lana's collab with A$AP Rocky, who's been accused of physically assaulting a woman. And the list goes on and on and on and on. I'm talking longer than a full road trip across the states. Who hasn't Banks come for should be the real question. But we must say, although many of her verbal attacks weren't always warranted, one thing about Azealia is a brutal honesty that some tend to admire, in a repeating pattern throughout her history of disputes. Honorable mentions of people Azealia has gone against are Elon Musk, Grimes, RZA, SZA, Lady Gaga, T.I., Iggy Azalea, Erica Badu, Diplo, Sia, RuPaul, Katy Perry, Lizzo, and even Beyonce. Trust me, that's not even touching the middle of the iceberg, let alone the tip. But we be here until Jesus returns if we're to list every single one. Despite her multitude of initiated feuds curated by her vocal box, Azalea's talent speaks for itself, getting her major film debut in 2017 with Love Beats Rhyme about a 25-year-old rapper from Staten Island who pursues a music career starring Jill Scott and Common. She released her store, Cheapy XO, in the same year, selling soaps, including butt bleach, creams, herbal teas, jewelry, clothing, boxes consisting of a Keys to the Kingdom, Hanukkah, the Dream Box, and more, consisting of collections of magical concoctions, including therapeutic tools, herbal hues, butters, oils, sea moss, exfoliation gloves, Eye of Horus necklaces, ink cuff bracelets, sage, and spiritual literature, all handmade and put together by Azealia herself. Even during the midst of her many ongoing tirades, whether provoked, warranted, or not, her witty rebuttals, humorous unpopular opinions, and language exposes another side of Azealia that you may have noticed if you look past her critic, her intellect. She ain't no dummy, by any means, and refuses to shy away from tough conversations about race, politics, and social issues dating back since before 212 was ever even thought of. She isn't afraid to call out the males in hip hop for creating a culture of anti-black women / colorist rhetoric. Won't budge to scold black women for perpetuating it. Won't think twice about fighting for the reparations for black Americans, citing reparations given to Native Americans and Jewish survivors of the Holocaust. In recent years, she's been more open about her traumatic childhood, toxic relatives, and mental health, revealing she was diagnosed with bipolar disorder in 2020 after stating she wanted to unalive herself through euthanasia and document the process on film, exposing disturbing text threads between herself and her mother, where Azealia pleads with her mom to keep her dogs a while longer so that she could focus on her music and mental stability. After her mom replied back, accusing her of telling the same story over and over, and that she had her own depression and to tell it to someone else because she was tired of hearing it, Azealia responded with a passive-aggressive text of her own, telling her mom that the next time she fell on the floor surrounded by a pool of her own urine, she was on her own. To which her mom replied, "Same ish your cokehead father did, F you. F you, go right ahead with your drugs. You snorted coke my entire childhood. Oh, please. You're the one addicted to psych meds, falling over and not exercising," Azealia replied. The thread continues with Azalea's mom telling her to go cry wolf to her friend Matt. Azealia then informs her that her mom's phone will be getting cut off, to which Mama Banks responds by threatening to send Azalea's pups to the pound and proceeds to call her daughter a drug addict. Mind you, Mama came out the gate swinging first after hitting up her daughter with a "What's going on, you using?" text before Azealia even told her what she had contacted her for. Posting the exchange to her IG, Azealia captured the post, writing, "This is why I'm extremely stressed out 24/7. My mom has been wishing death on me, saying I'm a piece of ish since I was 3 years old. This is an extremely toxic relationship I have to cut off. She's using the deaths of my other 2 dogs, Chicken and Saw, as collateral yet again. I can't be dealing with the same abusive ish from childhood if I plan to get ahead and evolve." No matter how many slurs are viciously thrown at the LGBTQ community, no matter how many times Azealia has stuck her foot in her mouth more times than you can possibly count, no matter how unprovoked her verbal attacks are, no matter how many chickens she assaults in the name of witchery, how many insults she lets off, or how many times she refers to Lizzo as Fat Lizzo, as if that were her actual government name, her fans have one major question for those outraged over their fave's commentary. But was she lying though? Love or hate her? Azealia Banks may be reaching for the moon whenever she accuses a celeb of biting her swag. But one thing for sure, Azealia Banks is a hip house honorary legend. Her electrifying performances alone stomp on almost any artist deriving from the microwave generation, where artist development seems to be a lost art. Her perfect pitch, playful dance moves, bright performance fits, and stamina whilst on stage prove her to be one of the greatest artists to have ever graced the mass domain of humanity, as well as her ability to bring house hop under the attention of a mainstream audience. Fortunately for her, again, yes, you heard that right, Azalea's mom passed away last year, to which Azealia herself celebrated by writing Ding Dong, the Witch is Dead. To be honest, I'm kind of happy she's gone. Like, finally, She was a miserable woman and a weight. Now I can finally flourish and focus without the constant negativity. It's a big relief. She was such a ball and chain. Ding Dong, the Witch is Dead. Just a few months before that, her sisters were trying to pressure her into giving them money by sending her photos of their mom laid up in a hospital bed. Azealia wasn't falling for the guilt trip and took to her IG stories, venting about her toxic relatives and hoping her siblings would drop dead somewhere. From what we've gathered over her run in the spotlight, Azealia Banks hasn't been granted the best luck in life. Trauma, violence, threats, and witchery. Did we mention her mama used to practice witchcraft as well? Often plagued her upbringing until she made the effort to escape at the age of 14. After all, her mom often threatened to kick her out of the house when she reached the age of 18. An ongoing promise she drilled into Azalea's mental ever since she was a wee toddler. A determined teen without the guidance of either parent set out to make her dream of becoming one of the most iconic artists of all time a reality, whether that be through her music or the countless memes we've cackled over throughout the decade. Yes, she's known more for her controversy nowadays than her music, but the fact of the matter still stands. Azealia Banks is an award-winning, outspoken, rebellious artist who's had to literally get it out the mud more times than she can count and made a way out of no way, reigning true to an intention she set out to concur when she first stepped on the scene, when she said she felt as though she'll change the scope of pop music, with her ever so loyal fan base waiting hands and feet on the cheapy EXO soap they'll probably never receive. She's done just that in only a short amount of time. Anna Wintour and other tunes plugged into your favorite designer's runway radio playlist has gave Azealia the opportunity to collab with some of the biggest names in fashion, not only giving her crossover appeal to the fashion industry, but allowing her voice and artistry to be used as muses to their expertise. Knowing what you know now about Azalea's past, do you think she should be extended grace? Or is she at the point of no return? A fearless truth teller or a relentless troll? Both? Let us know your thoughts and opinions down below in the comments, and stay tuned for more true celebrity stories.